One of these photos was retouched by hand using things like frequency separation and dodge and burn, and it took me about 20 minutes. The other image was edited with Luminar Neo's AI features, and it only took about 5 minutes. Can you tell which one is which? Before Luminar Neo came along, I was using Luminar 4 for a while on some of my edits, but now that Luminar Neo is out, Skyloom really went all in on AI features to really help out your workflow. So for example, I have a catalog here of a recent photo shoot I did with myself, and we can take one of these photos here, and we can go into something like presets, because Luminar Neo gives you a bunch of presets that you can choose from to give yourself a good base when you start doing your image edits. And it even gives you some AI assisted ones. For example, up here for this photo, you have things like close-up, because this is a close-up photo. So you can select something like featured face, and it will apply that preset to your image. And you can choose from just about any of these as well. There's a ton that you can choose from, which is really nice. But for this one, I'm just going to come into edit, and I'm going to do everything manually myself. So to start out with, I'm just going to do what I normally do with any of my photos and just come into develop. And then we can adjust things like the exposure, the highlights, and the shadows, just like you would in any other image editor. But where Luminar Neo really shines is in its AI features. So for example, you can see here we have something like structure AI. So if we wanted to, we could add some structure to this image. And unlike Affinity Photo or Photoshop, this one actually uses AI, so it knows what parts to actually add structure to and what parts to stay away from. You also have a bunch of other really cool things. If we scroll down into like Creative tab here, we can change the brightness of things that are near versus far. So for example, with this, it will change the brightness of myself because I'm the subject here, and we can actually lower the brightness of the background if we wanted to as well. You can see the before and after of that. And we're pretty much doing all of this without any masking or anything. This is all Luminar Neo knowing exactly what we need to do because of its awesome AI features. But the part I use most often for this is going to be stuff like face AI. So for example, we can add a face light here if we want to brighten up our face a little bit. And then you'll see down here that we also have things for retouching. So we can enhance our eyes if we wanted to, and it just kind of knows exactly what we need to work on with that. We can whiten our eyes, we can enlarge our eyes, we can remove dark circles. And so just with moving a couple sliders here, instead of, going through and masking everything out, you can see just how much we've actually changed with that. We can even come back and improve our eyebrows. We also have a mouth selection here, so we can change the saturation, redness, darken, or we can even whiten our teeth if we have teeth in our image. Then we can do some more retouching with like our skin. So if we change the amount here, it's basically just doing frequency separation on its own without us having to actually go in and change anything. But this usually does a pretty good job at the things that we want it to do. And that's because all of these AI features were basically trained from photographers editing their own photos with things like frequency separation and all of these different things, so that you can really get this natural look because it knows how photographers are editing their photos. And so just like that, in a matter of a couple minutes, we pretty much have a retouched photo ready to go just by moving a couple sliders around. So that's pretty much what you can do with portraits in just a matter of a couple minutes. But there's also a ton of other features you can do with things like landscapes. So for example, with this photo here, we can still use any sort of presets that we want here, and Luminar Neo will suggest some because it recognizes like this is a landscape here. So it's going to suggest some landscape presets for this photo. So if you wanted to, you could come in and use any of those, or of course go through any of the other ones. But if we come into our edit tab here, we can go through and do some really cool things with this. So for example, Sky AI here will actually allow us to change the sky in our photo. And again, this is something that will kind of do all by itself. So you can come into your sky selection here, and you can see that Luminar Neo gives you a bunch of skies for you to select from. So for example, if I wanted to say this one here, all we have to do is click on it, and it will process for a second and then apply that to our image. And so just like that, without having to, painstakingly mask out that mountain there, we now changed our sky in our image. And we can go through and select any of these skies that we want. So if we want something a little bit more dramatic, we can have that. Or if we want to make this like a night sky for whatever reason, we can go ahead and do that as well. But I'm just going to leave it on something like this for right now. And of course, if you need to, you can also come in and change anything like, the horizontal position of the sky. If it doesn't quite match for you, you can also come into scene relighting, and you can see that we can relight the scene as well. There's also cool features like atmosphere over here, so we can actually add fog to our image if we wanted to. So we can increase the amount of that and add some fog into our image. You can come down and also change what it is. So you have layered fog, mist, or haze. And again, this is all stuff it's doing automatically for us, which is super cool. I'm just going to get rid of that for the time being. We can also come back up to the top here and do other things like enhance AI, which will add like accent to the image. So as you can see here, exactly what it's changing. Or we can adjust the sky enhancer, which will enhance the sky. So you can see the before and after of exactly what we did there. So as you can see, just by moving a couple sliders around, we really changed how this image looks. And we didn't have to mask out a single thing. Luminar Neo did everything for us using its AI features. Now, pretty much everything I've shown you so far just comes in the base version of Luminar Neo. You do get a lot of really cool features and you get a really powerful image editor just in the base version. But as you might have seen, Luminar Neo also comes with a couple extensions that you can get, and you can see those here. So for example, if we wanted to use something like Denoise, Luminar Neo does come with a pretty good denoiser, just like any other image editor, but they also have an AI assisted one if you want to take the denoising to the next level. So we can come up here into our extensions, we can drop down this, and you can see this one is suggesting the low preset for this image, so we can click on that, and it will take a little bit to process, but once it's done, we will have a pretty much completely denoised image. And so now that it's done processing, we can see the before and the after of that. And I think we can actually get away with the middle preset for this one, because this one is a pretty noisy image. So we can see the before and after of that. Hopefully that's showing up on YouTube, but we can fit the screen here and we can really see just how much it changed with that. So if you have a really noisy image, this is a great way to get rid of any sort of noise in that image. Also, one of the newer extensions that they actually just released this month is the Supersharp AI. So if you have an image that has some motion blur in it, this will actually do its best to get rid of that motion blur and sharpen up the image. Another really cool extension that they just came out with is we basically have one-click background removal. So all we have to do is click on this and it will process the image for a second and actually remove the background for us and just cut our subject out from the background just in one click. So now, as you can see, after a little bit of processing, it pretty much found our subject here, and all we have to do is hit remove, and it will remove the background and just keep our subject. And there you go. Just in a few clicks, we've pretty much entirely removed the background, which saves a ton of time, because as you guys might have seen, I've done videos on this before, and it takes a while to cut your subject out from the background. As you can see, it did a really good job with her hair up here as well, which is a really tricky thing to do when you're trying to cut a subject out from a background. And all of that is still a pretty basic look at everything Luminar Neo gives you. As you can see here on the right, we also have things like HDR merge. So if you shot bracketed images, you can combine them together into an HDR image. We have focus stacking, so if you shot at different focal distances, you can apply that there as well. We also have AI upscaling, so if you need to increase the resolution of your image, you can apply that as well. And there's just a ton of extra features that they've been adding on here. I've really only scratched the surface showing you everything here, but there are some really cool AI features that they've been adding to this that I find really cool. And right now they're having their Black Friday sale where you guys can get up to 85% off plus 6 months free depending on which plan you choose. There's a few different plans. You can even just get a lifetime license if you're interested in that, which you guys know I love. So if you guys are interested at all, there will be a link in the description for you guys to check it out. But that pretty much does it for this video. If you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing. I hope you guys have a great day. See ya.